Well, welcome to Modeling Time with me, Brian Banna. And before I go any further, I just want to wish everybody a Happy New Year. So, today, or in this video, I want to take care of a request that somebody had. And I know there's other requests I need to do. I still need to do the tool videos, but I think the tool videos are going to be broken up into separate sections because the mill itself is probably one video and such. So, and somebody asked to do a example of how to draw a photo etch or what the manufacturer of the photo etch needs for artwork, and that's another video I want to do. In this video, though, this one should be fairly short, is there was a request to show how I do the different taping off or masking the ends of the handrails, like if they're yellow or white, and then the rest of the handrail is another color and stanchions and stuff like that. So that's what I'm working on right now. I've got 3 RS1s that I'm building, and I'm at the handrail portion of it right now. So I thought, you know what, I'll do a quick video on how I do the masking. I'll go over the pre-steps before I get to the masking, and then we'll get them painted, and that will be it. So let me get the camera set up, and we'll just quickly go over a session on taping up handrails. All right, so I'm all set up here, and the first thing that I do for my handrails, I've already painted the ends here. Let me zoom in a little bit. There we go. So I've already painted the ends, but prior to painting these, what I do is I'll take a sharp hobby knife, brand new blade, and I'll go along and I'll scrape the parting lines off, because you can't really see them when they're not painted, but as soon as you paint these things, the parting line pops out. The mold parting line pops out like a sore thumb. So I do my best. These are really hard to hold and to get in there and scrape without them like flexing all over the place, but I'll hold it as firm as I can, and I'll get in there and scrape the parting line off of both sides. So that's the first step I do. Now you're not gonna get all of it all the time. I have enough handrail sets done for the 3 RS1s over here. So that's a lot of handrails to scrape, and it's kind of tedious and boring, but it's something that needs to be done. And you're gonna miss little bits and stuff, but at least if you knock it down, it helps the look of the handrails a lot more. And also I scrape the inside of the stanchions. This is zoomed in too far. I scrape the inside edges of the stanchions because they have the most egregious parting line. So once that's done, they get grit blasted to give the surface tooth, to give this Delrin or engineered plastic surface tooth. And then I prime them in a light gray color, just whatever you want to use for your favorite primer. Excuse me. This is actually Tamiya Royal Light Gray. It's not really a primer, but I started using Stynylrez again, and the finish on it it does not meet my expectations. So I'm not using Stynylrez again. I did buy a bottle, and I thought I'll give it a try again because I really like Stynylrez, but it's just not working the way that I've hoped it would. So I'm back to using Tamiya paints for my primers. And after I get them primed, I let them sit for a day, let that paint really shrink down and dry out. And then I'll come back and I'll paint the ends, whether it'll be yellow or white or whatever color your end railings need to be. I paint it, these ones are white, so I paint it in a flat white. So I use Tamiya flat white. I let that dry for a day, and then I'll come back and I paint them with a gloss white. So the flat finish will give the gloss a really nice tooth, extra tooth to hold on to, and the gloss finish will give the final finish to the surface, and it's a really good taping finish. So they're all painted white. All of them, all the sets have their ends painted white. So now it's time to tape off next to the stanchion. So I use this, you can't get it anymore and you can't find it anymore, but there are other foil products out there. This is Tester's Chrome Foil. They discontinued this some years ago, and I was able to find a big batch of it, so I have enough to last me for the rest of my life, which is probably not much longer. Not meaning like tomorrow, but not as much life left in me as I had when this stuff was available. So anyway, stupid joke anyway. So what I do is I cut it into thin strips. You can see right, I don't know if you can see it with the glare, but right in here you can see I got some thin strips. That's from masking something else. Let me pull this little piece off here. There we go. So anyway, this stuff is really thin, and what I like about it, or actually I think this was produced for car modelers to do chrome surfaces, and you burnish it onto the surface. What I think the modelers didn't like, I don't know, but a lot of times it comes in all this crinkly looking surface, and that's hard to buff out or polish out. And its sticking quality is very good for masking, but I don't know how good it is for chrome surfaces. So anyway, what I do is I cut it into thin strips, or whatever size strips I need to do the masking that's necessary. I do not use this to fully mask everything. I use it when I need tight lines and around small details, because you can burnish it in and then trim around it and peel it off. So let me put my other glasses on here. Now, the key to cutting this is you need a very sharp blade. If you do not have a sharp blade and it has a little bit of a ragged edge on the blade like you've been using it before, it will grab and tear this stuff. You can see I got a nice sharp line along here. That's because I always use a new blade when I cut this stuff. Then I just use a straight edge and put it down in here and just kind of figure out a width that I want. And I'll make 2 passes. So keep that up against it, fingers in the way. Now you only really need to make 1 pass, but I always make 2 passes. It doesn't take much to cut through this. Then I'll take my finger and I'll press down and press the edge down. So now I've got the edge back. Because sometimes it'll, like when you cut plastic with a knife, it'll kind of, come up at like a pyramid shape or whatever. It does that with this too. So I just press it down. Then what I do, I think this is going to be a really short video with this, is I've got these pieces cut already down here. You can see the stripes cut. So I won't use this piece. Let me just, because this piece is long enough as it is, so I'll just throw that piece away. So I'll come in here and I'll figure, okay, I need to mask this area right here. So I'll go, okay, I'll just come in here. Let me get the light over here a little bit better. And I'll go, okay, so I need about that much. Cut it like that. And I'll come in with the knife edge and just pick it up. Just like that. Put the chrome foil aside. Hold it like that. Get my tweezers out here. Pick that off. Then I will get my toothpick here. And I'll lay it right into the edge, or right into the joint where the handrail meets the stanchion. Come in here and just burnish it down a little bit. Now, on this side, we need to curl it over. So I just curl it over on the edge. And you want an overlap. You definitely want an overlap. So then I'll come back here And now make sure that it's all burnished down at that joint. Just like that. And that's it. That's the masking of where the stanchion is. Now on some railroads, this handrail is completely painted a different color. Like for instance, New York Central, all of the bar or the handrail parts are painted yellow. So in that instance, all of this would be painted yellow. Just like I did the white, I'd do a flat yellow first, and then I'd do a gloss yellow, and then I'd come back and do that, what I just did right here, for every joint where the handrail goes through the stanchion. Do that for every joint. So I'm going to go ahead and get all of the handrail sets for these three RS1s done, and then we'll come back and I'll show you what I do for the long run for masking the long run. Okay, so this is one handrail set here for an RS1, and as you can see, I've got the foil on each leading joint with or each leading edge handrail with the first stanchion. So that's all taken care of. Now, the only reason I use foil here, because it has a sharp edge and it'll burnish down nicely around the stanchion, so you won't have that paint where it kind of flows up into the stanchion. So it'll be a nice, dividing point for the paint. So I've got that all done for all three sets. So let's show you what the next step is. I use this stuff, Handrail Mascal. It's a liquid masking fluid, and the reason I don't use this all the way up to the edge, of course, I'm sure everybody knows why, is because it'll flow around the stanchion, and you don't want that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to coat the entire handrail up to and including the leading edge of the foil, so it covers the foil. Oh, I forgot to get my applicator stick. Okay, so the applicator stick is just a long toothpick. So this is very simple. Just take the handrail, and I'll be doing the same on all of these. Stick the stick in there, and I just coat the handrail. Being careful only to get the leading edge of the foil, and making sure I cover every bit of the handrail. So that there's no paint showing through. And if you've got a fresh bottle of this, it flows pretty good. Okay, so now what do I do? Well, I'm not going to sit here and hold this. I bought a whole bunch of these locking tweezers. So I use them a lot for paint. As you can see, the ends are all painted. So what I'll do is I'll take this like that, lock it in, and I'll just set it aside like that. Now this is going to turn to a dark purple, which is what you want before you do any painting, and that means it's dry. So that's basically it for covering the handrail ends, and I'll do the rest. I'll get all of these done. I'll set this aside, and we'll get all of that done, and then we'll get to painting. Okay, so everything's painted. You see I got 3 sets of handrails. So I got 6 of the end, 3 of these, 3 of these, 3 of these, and 3 of these. So that's for 3 locomotives. So let me put these aside, and I will show you how I take off this masking. And it's not, there's no mystery to it or anything. It's just a I guess what you'd call a technique on removing the masking. Sorry it's taking so long. Get all these off of here. I'll use this one right here. So, just push those aside. So these were painted in gloss, Tamiya gloss black. Let me zoom in on this. How's that? Let's see if I can get that in focus. There we go. Okay, so what I need is sometimes I use these sprue nippers. And I'll show you what I use those for. I got tweezers and I use a sharp knife. Now the sharp knife part I need is the point. So you don't want a broken point, you want a really, really sharp edge point, and I'll show you what I use that for. So the first thing I do is I just grab, and this is kind of actually a little iffy, I would say, or whatever. You want to start pulling this, and you'll see, and what I mean by iffy is if you pull too hard, you could have a chance of snapping or breaking the handrail. It's never happened to me before. I just get that feeling that sometimes it will, but you can see right here now that I've been pulling, you can see some of the white here. So that means this goo is coming off. So see, and then it just rolls down kind of like a sock. You see it rolling down there. So the main thing you want to do is grab the handrail as close to the point that you're pulling at as possible. See, and now it's coming off easy. Now I'll take some tweezers and I'll grab that little ball end there and I'll just pull it right off like that. And there's, now I have to take the tape off, but real quick, sometimes this little knob on the end that goes into the hole, into your step well or into your step well, sometimes it has a little bit more of a, oh, here, I'll show you on this one. It has this pin like this, so you have to come around and get it over this pin. Well, sometimes it's hard to pull all of that that masking off. That's when I use this, and I'll grab it and I'll just cut it, and it thins it out and it'll pull off much, much easier. So now on this one, what I need to do is get this foil off of here. So that's where this tip of the knife comes in real handy. So what I'll do is, working real hard not to pick at the paint, is just get right underneath that. And pull that foil off. And when you roll that, when you roll this masking off, sometimes little bits of paint will flake. Not the paint, not the white paint, but the black paint will flake off because it's rubber and paint doesn't stick to rubber too well. So what I have to do is I take some masking tape, roll it over like that, and I'll just go and pull at the little bits of paint on there to get them to come off. They stick, that paint sticks pretty good. And gets it off. There we go. Now, you're going to see, if I show you this side, you're going to see this little nick right here. That's not from me taking this foil off. That was after I had painted this white. I noticed there was a little piece of where I was scraping the parting line off, there was a little piece of plastic still left on there, and when I cleaned it off, it left a little chip right there. So I'll go back and just touch that up with some white paint on a paintbrush. And then once I get all of this done, all of these sets done, I will shoot a clear coat, a clear gloss over them to seal everything. And then I'll shoot a satin varnish over them. So let me go ahead and get all of these, the masking off of all of these. I'll get this little piece touched up. This is the only one that happened on and stuff. So I'll get all of this taken care of. And then I'll shoot a clear coat over everything. And I'll show you the satin varnish that I use now. And then these will be done. All right, well, the handrails are done. They've had a gloss coat put on them and then a satin varnish. Let me show you which ones I use. Once again, I wasn't ready when I started the video, but so for the gloss coat, I use this, the All-Clad Aqua Gloss. It's really, really good. And I put that on there not to make it glossy or anything, because the paint was already glossy. I use gloss black and gloss white, but to protect the paint and give it a hard shell finish. It's really, really, once this cures, it's really hard surface. And then for the satin varnish, I use this semi-matte, the All-Clad semi-matte. So I just sprayed that on after about an hour or so after the Aqua Gloss was on. The Aqua Gloss dries really, really fast, but I still let it cure for a little bit longer. Now, when putting your handrails back on, let me zoom in on this and I just give you show you the finish and everything. Whoop. So let me zoom out just a little bit. There we go. So the finish you can see is a satin varnish, and it has a nice light sheen to it, but not a totally flat sheen to it. The whole model is going to be like that. So that takes care of that. But when putting your handrails on, these require a lot of pressure to push them in the holes because the pins are not round. They're kind of an oval shape. Or actually they're flat with rounds on the ends. So they press in real nice, but you have to use a lot of pressure. And even though I've grit blasted these and painted them and clear coated them and stuff, a little bit of paint did chip off, so I did have to go back in and touch up just a couple of little areas. Also these, like for instance, where they go into the step wells, what's that on there? Oh, there we go. Where they go into the step wells, these pins were way too big to be able to push into there easily. I mean, if it was just Delrin and not painted and stuff, yeah, then you could, use tweezers and push them in. But because we painted them, I would have to really grab onto these things and squeeze them hard to push them in, and that would just crack all the paint off, even though they're grit blasted. So I drilled the holes out a little bit. I may go back and just put some CA in there, but they're holding in really, really nice. So right now I don't need to put any CA in there. After I put the end railings on, the pin protrudes a little bit into the step well at the top, so I cut that off, and then I came back and repainted it and refinished it and stuff. So this portion of the RS1 is all done. So I got 3 of these. Now it's time I can move on to the hood, but this video is about painting handrails, and you can see the nice sharp edges I get, division points that I get on the handrails. So that takes care of these 3. Well, that takes care of this video. Once I edit it, I hope it's not too long, but somebody had asked, how do I get such a sharp division line between the end railings and the rest of the first stanchion and so on. So basically I use metal foil tape. There are other metal foils out there that you can use. Don't use bare metal foil. It's too thick, and the glue on the back of it kind of stays with it a little bit. But there are other ones. I don't know. I've seen some on YouTube. I don't remember the names of them, but if maybe you could do a search on metal foil or hobby metal foil or something like that. I have enough of the old Testors one that I don't need to search for it anymore. But any tape will really do. I mean, you could probably use Tamiya tape as well. It's a little bit thicker, but it might give you a good division line as well. So you might want to use that, cut it in thin strips. Tamiya tape sticks really well. What you don't want to do with Tamiya tape is, you need to overlap the cut, the start point of it, but don't overlap it too much or you'll get too much of an edge on that. So that's it. So I hope you learned something or something that you can use. And I really appreciate your time. And I look forward to bringing some more videos to you.